Hi, and welcome back to Waxing On. Friday, we're going to kick off your weekend with a little bit of 60s style folk music. And this isn't your traditional folk music, but this is how this artist has been classified. And you may know a lot of his hits. I'm just going to give you a couple here just to get you thinking. We've got tunes like Sunshine Superman, Hurdy-Gurdy Man, Mellow Yellow, Season of the Witch, right? You got to pick up every stitch, man. Jennifer Juniper, Universal Soldier, a tune by Canadian Buffy St. Marie that he covered. Yes, we're talking about Donovan Leach. Started out in the 60s. Around that same era, he that Woodstock style music. It was classified as folk, but as you can tell from those tunes, things like Hurdy-Gurdy Man, Mellow Yellow, and really not your traditional folk music, but it really wasn't rock and roll either. Now, the album I have is one that is, to me, very rare. I tried to look it up online, couldn't find it on the streaming networks. You could find a few mentions of it in Wikipedia, but there wasn't a lot when I went on trying to find a copy of it. And it could be, these are one of those albums, this is a compilation album that came out, and it was at the time when he was going through a change in record labels. And the label he'd been recording for, Pi Records, put this out. So not really a greatest hits, but a compilation album. And we had one of those a few weeks ago. We talked about Frank Sinatra. Same thing. Greatest hits album is going to have those songs that I mentioned earlier. This one didn't really. It does have one of the ones. Actually, I'll just show you the album first. It's called The Real Donovan. Came out, I'm going to say, around 1966. And this is very early Donovan. The one song that I recognized off here right off the bat was Catch the Wind, and a very famous tune for him. And you may remember we did talk about Donovan back during the Secret Policeman's Ball album, and he was one of the guests on there, doing some great tunes. Anyways, let's just go through what we have here. Now, a lot of times Donovan, on here, they don't tell me who's backed him up. So sometimes it may just be Donovan there, it may be the band in there. Let's go through the list. We've got Turquoise by Donovan. We've got Oh Deed by Bert Jens. We've got Catch the Wind by Donovan. Remember the Alamo, Jane Bowers. Ballad of the Crystal Man by Donovan and Colors by Donovan. There's side one. Again, for me, Catch the Wind was the only one I really recognized because that's about the time I started hearing him, was in that later part of the 60s. The early 60s was not something I was really familiar with. So side two, we got Hey Jip with Donovan. Belated Forgiveness Plea, Donovan. Ramblin' Boy, Donovan. The War Drags On by Mickey Softly. Josie by Donovan, and we're wrapping up with To Try for the Sun by Donovan. Now, this album, a chance to catch some of the early performances as this artist is developing. If you want the greatest hits, yeah, greatest hits albums are available, and again, those are a real snapshot of what was going on in that latter part of the 60s, and just some classic tunes. I listened to some of those just the other day, and boy, they really feel good to get that music back out again. A whole simpler time, things were different back then, right? Now this one, while I couldn't find it online, I could find a few songs if I went to YouTube. And on YouTube, I'll tell you, there's some great stuff there. If you're into that folk style music, I did find a video featuring not only Donovan, David Bromberg, and John Sebastian. I mean, these are three classic guys playing together. And Sebastian, while he did a lot with Love and Spoonful, the folky style really is what he's all about, right? So to hear the three of them together, it was quite a treat. So there's a lot of gems out there to kind of discover what Donovan's doing, as well as the hits. And sometimes it's fun to go back and just find out where they came from. Now, these kind of albums, they crop up once in a while. I know there was a couple of Van Morrison too, that when he got onto another label and started cranking out hits, his previous label started cranking out stuff that either hadn't been released before or re-releasing things again, trying to piggyback on the success. And again, I don't know if that was the case here, but I know there was issues when he was changing record labels, and his previous one here, Pi Records, came up with this. So if you can find it, it's an interesting album. If you can't find it, again, it may be released under a different title. We had this with Olivia Newton-John's first album. The songs were there, but the album packaging and the titling were a little different. So if any of those songs sound interesting, take a look around. There may be on the streaming networks a different album title, but the same package available. But if you were looking for the original, 1966, it was this one. It's good music, it's fun, it's a great way again. We tried down Friday, come up with some fun stuff to wrap up the week with and kind of kick off your weekend with this time some laid back, some fun kind of country, some great memories from the 60s if that is your era. So check it out. Donovan. That's it for Friday. Everybody have a great weekend. Boy, it's winding down. We're getting right down to the end of September, so anything you need to do outside, good time to get at it, man. See you on Monday. Till then, everybody take care. Stay safe. Thanks for stopping by.